We're going to talk about freezing semen today. So there's something that we're doing most days here at Early Kennel Fertility, and something that we talk to people about every single day.
Yeah.
What makes a good candidate? So somebody rings you and they've got a dog. What would be the prime candidate for semen freezing?
Yeah, the best scenario would probably be fit and healthy for a start. Between 2 and 5 tends to be the best age to start semen collection. Yeah, just not having any particular health issues or traumatic events or anything like that in the last 8 weeks, because that can impact.
Okay, I was going to say, what can traumatic events do?
Yeah, just because the semen is sort of regenerated, per se, like every 8 weeks. Anything in that 8 weeks could interrupt that regeneration or production of the semen cells.
So the stress.
Yeah, so even something as silly as there was one where a dog had been lying doing like the frog on the floor, and it was a heated, it was under floor heating. It's impacted on his sperm production because
so the heated floor had impacted the semen,
because it's obviously the testicle was obviously meant to be slightly lower than body temperature, and they'd obviously got warmed up on the floor.
Okay, interesting.
Something as silly as that can affect it.
So would a hot day or something like that as well?
No, not necessarily. Like if a dog was really, really like stressy hot, then we probably wouldn't be doing a collection anyway, because we'd look at the dog and go, yeah, he's overheated, so he's stressed.
And obviously it's an exertion when you're
collecting
the semen.
Yeah, but no, fit and healthy between 2 and 5.
Okay.
Not been on any medication or anything like that.
Okay, because medication, what does that do? All medication can affect it, or is it?
Can. It's one of those things where you'd have to have a chat with the vets. It's a bit of a case by case thing.
Certain medications.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you can give to help the semen before you arrive? So obviously medications impact it in a harmful way, but is there something you can give it to help?
Yes, there are supplements. So we do our own supplement that we formulated with NAF, a natural vet care. So that has various sort of ingredients that are all natural that can help with semen quality and concentration and libido of the actual dog themselves and all that sort of thing. So yeah, we can we stock that and sell it, and yeah, we've seen some nice results with it.
Yeah. And we've got plenty of data behind that as well, so it's quite impressive. Because I was reading actually the other day, just kind of looking back at the data that we'd done, that most of the dogs on it had actually doubled the concentration from not being on it at all to 8 weeks later. The semen concentration, so concentration being obviously the number of semen cells that they're producing, to double on average. In the whole sample size. So the freezing process, explain to me, and for people listening, what that looks like. What does arriving for a frozen semen collection, what does kind of like that generally look like?
So you'd obviously turn up, we would check the dog's microchip, get a weight for them, and then do the collection. And then the first discussion really is the semen that we've collected, is it worth freezing? So we'd have a quick look under the microscope. We usually take a video for the client so they can have a little look as well.
Okay. So they can actually physically see the collection as well?
We've got nice big screens in the lab, so we can just take a video of the screen.
So you're not looking down an eye?
No.
Yeah.
So that's the first discussion really, is are there any concerns that we've got at that time? If there are, it's a choice of whether they'd like to try and freeze anyway, or whether they'd like to maybe try the supplement, for example, and come back.
So there's things you can do at that point if you don't freeze.
Yeah, exactly. If everything looks okay, then and the client's happy, we then go to the freezing process. So we do some processing, which involves sort of adding our own extenders and that sort of thing.
How long does that take?
In total, about 4 hours.
Wow. Okay, so it's a long 4 days.
Which is why we don't offer freezing in the afternoons. Some people.
So there's a cut-off time for freezing.
So 12:30, 1 o'clock at a push is the last sort of time we'd get someone in for a freeze. So yeah, that's why when folk want to come at 3, that's why we say no.
Right, because you'd be here all night.
Yeah.
So once you've got it frozen, where does the semen go?
Once it's frozen.
Once it's
so
frozen.
we store it in these big nitrogen tanks. So it's full of liquid nitrogen.
What's liquid nitrogen then? It's just what it's kept in?
Yeah. So the tanks, sort of big metal tanks, the liquid nitrogen is then poured in. So it's sort of full, and we keep those topped up, and the semen is stored in little straws, little 1/2 ml straws.
I always think they look like Capri Sun straws.
Yeah,
probably ruined Capri Suns for a lot of people, but they look like Capri Sun straws.
Yeah, they do.
And tell people about what's on the Capri Sun. Well, they're not on Capri Sun straws, but what are on the straws?
So usually the dog's name. If they're Kennel Club registered, we go with the Kennel Club name, because otherwise we'd have a lot of
Billies.
Yeah, for example. So yeah, we just have the Kennel Club name, the date it was collected, microchip number, and then there's where it's frozen, so Elite Kennel Fertility. UK is normally on there. And usually then the concentration, depending on the breed. If it's a bigger breed, we tend to try and freeze at a concentration of 200 cells per mil, or if it's a smaller breed, we try and freeze at 150 cells per mil. So usually that's on there as well.
Right, okay. And then, so obviously we have it here in these liquid nitrogen filled tanks.
Mm-hmm.
Can an owner come and collect it? What does it? Does the owner do anything with the semen once it's stored, or does it? What happens tends to happen?
Normally, we just keep it stored for them. If they wanted to, for example, export, we'd have had that conversation sort of before freezing it, really, in case there's requirements for the country. But
so you need to know that information. So if you're exporting semen that's frozen in the UK, we need to know about that before it's frozen. And why is that?
Just because different countries have different requirements and they vary wildly.
So in what respect? What's kind of like easiest scenario to the hardest scenario?
So for example, Germany and America just need a health declaration at the time of collection. So that's easy. So we just basically collect the dog, and then one of the vets will do the health check and then have a certificate. So that's the easiest. Another one, the more tricky ones are usually Australia and New Zealand. So Australia needs health check at time of collection, and then blood's taking, I think it's 30 to 45 days after collection.
There's all different times, isn't there? Some are days, some are weeks.
Yeah. So Sweden, for example, I think is after collection need bloods, but between 21 days, not earlier than 21 days and not later than 2 months, I think it was for Sweden.
And is it always post?
No.
Collection?
Always before.
Right, okay. So we really need to have this information, this talk prior to semen freezing if they're going to export.
Yes.
Okay. And we'll talk about more exporting another time, because we've that's kind of a whole different conversation in itself. So going back to the semen in the tanks, what keeps that semen viable? How long can it stay there? Is it there for a certain amount of time?
It stays as long as you want it to, basically. So once it's frozen, and so what we do once we've frozen it, we do a post-thaw analysis. So we'll thaw one of the straws that we've frozen, and that tells us how well it has frozen. Right. So before we freeze it, we just don't know how it's going to freeze, really. We can try and predict as well as we can. So we can say it looks really good fresh. So in theory, hopefully it'll be okay.
But that's no guarantee.
No, not at all. If something looked a bit iffy before it goes in the freeze, that's when we're having the conversation of it may not freeze the best anyway. So yeah, there's no guarantee. Unfortunately, with all the science in the world, it is still just biology. And
and what does that post-thaw give you? What is a post-thaw?
So we do a concentration of the semen that's thawed, but the most important thing really is the motility.
And the concentration is the number of semen cells?
Yeah, so the concentration is number of semen cells in the milliliter. Then the motility is the semen cells that are moving in a straight line. So basically the ones that will most likely achieve fertilization once it's used. And to do that, we use CASA, which is a big computer that does it all for us. It takes away all the...
Do you still do it yourselves, or is it just done by computer?
Yeah, we do it by eye. We look at it and go, yeah, that looks about 60, for example.
But it's always backed up by the computer.
Yeah.
Okay. And once you have that post-thaw information, what does that give you? What use is the post-thaw to us as the vets, the clients? What information does it give you?
So we use it to decide how many straws would equal a breeding dose based on what we recommend. So, for example, dogs such as a Labrador, we recommend an insemination dose of frozen semen.
So many semen per insemination.
Yeah, so we recommend 150 progressively motile semen cells in an insemination for
150 or 150?
150 million.
150 million.
Using the post-thaw, we work out how many progressively motile cells are in a straw, and then we add up however many straws will equal 150 million.
So every dose, even the same dog could have one collection that's two straws per dose, and another one could be 4 straws per dose, and that's just depending on the sample we have in front of us.
Yeah. So like my dog, he's frozen. One of his freezes was 40% progressively motile post-thaw. Another one was 70.
Okay.
And that's the same dog, and he's on the same diet. He's never been ill. Like it's one of those things.
So could there be a stress factor on the 40%? Could there be a stress factor that played into that?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, he's a bit of a mad thing anyway. So, but it's just one of those things. It's never guaranteed. Some dogs that come to us are very, very consistent, which is always nice. So you have more of an idea, but it's not guaranteed at all.
Okay. Would you recommend that a dog, say I'm a client, I've just got a dog, it's fairly young, it's never actually been used before, would that be a candidate for frozen semen collection?
In theory, yes, if he's fit and healthy. Young, depends how young and depends on his breed.
Okay.
If he had a 15-month-old spaniel, you'd probably say, yeah, give him a go. Because he's a younger breed, and usually the smaller breeds we say maybe leave it until they're at least a year, maybe a little bit older.
Why is that?
Just to make sure they're at sexual maturity.
Right.
Really,
okay.
Yeah.
And if it was a 15-month-old Great Dane,
then you'd be a bit more. Maybe wait until he's about 2.
Right. And that's because of the maturity rates that they grow. Okay.
It also depends on the dogs. Like a dog may come in and then just be very puppyish, like in themselves.
Immature.
Yeah. Even of different breeds, it's like different lines as well. They mature in different ways. Like my own dogs, one of them is sort of when he was the same age as the other, he seemed much more mature, if that makes sense. So it all depends on the dog, but generally aim for about 2.
And do you find there's a difference between a dog that has naturally mated something before having a collection and something that hasn't?
Sometimes. So a really experienced stud dog that's done a lot of natural mating, they sometimes know when it's not the real thing. So they can sometimes be a little bit...
So it can hinder the process?
It can, sometimes, yeah.
But can it help it in some
In other ways, yes, because they obviously know the job.
Right.
So we try and have a bitch in season, for example, on our discounted freeze days. Can't guarantee it, but we try and provide one.
Yeah.
So that
you haven't failed to get one yet.
No, not yet. Yeah, so that a dog that's had the natural matings, they can smell the bitch, they see the bitch, they know what the plan is, sort of thing. But obviously, we just get in the way. So yeah.
So it can be helpful. Like you said, a dog by dog basis.
It depends on the dog. Yeah.
Okay.
Others will, like my own boy, he's never done a natural mating, but he goes in the collection room and he knows what to do. So it's swings and roundabouts.
Okay. But it's always good to, I think, lead with the dog's strengths.
You just look at the dog in front of you. And if they're unproven, that's not necessarily a reason not to freeze, but just bear in mind that they are unproven. So,
because a lot of the time, and this is something that when I'm speaking to breeders, I do find that, and it's easy, it's kind of widely accepted that it's easy to blame a stud dog for either a failure of a mating, but it is so difficult to test a female's fertility.
Mm-hmm.
That true test is she's had pups, they're on the ground. Oh, you know, she's had a pregnancy. Yes,
Yeah.
she, you know, there's ways of measuring it, but it's kind of like further down the line,
Yeah.
and being able to kind of preemptively collect the dog and assess it and see
Mm-hmm.
the quality of the semen. Is that something that, obviously, when people are coming in for semen freezing, they get this report?
Mm-hmm.
Is it something that people can use?
Yeah. So if, for example, it's probably most used when people want to sell the semen they've got stored. They'll then send that postal, and the interested person can have a look and see, oh yeah, it's 60%.
Because it shows the raw values on there as well. So you can see the raw collection at that time.
Yeah, the only thing it wouldn't show is the concentrations of how many semen cells were in that fresh collection, because that's something we don't do when we're freezing, because we don't need to know the concentration fresh. We're interested in what the concentration will be once it's frozen, if that makes sense. So that bit of information would be missing, per se. But it shows the volume and the motility that's in the fresh collection. So that's still useful to them.
And how has freezing semen changed the breeding journey for breeders? What's it changed for them?
I would say the biggest thing is getting new lines into their breeding program.
When you say new lines, for a novice breeder and you're someone that's new to it, what is new
like
lines?
an unrelated sort of dog.
To their dog?
To their dog, yeah. So, for example, I'm in Lakeland Terriers, which is a vulnerable native. So already...
A vulnerable native being? A vulnerable native breed?
Like a rare breed.
Right.
Yeah, so there's not many of them, basically. Sometimes for a reason. So there are already less of them, so they're going to be more likely to be related, and then you have the whole sort of inbreeding issue and reduced genetic diversity. So the act of semen freezing, like for example, someone might want to use my dog, or someone does want to use my dog who is over in Finland, it's possible to do that without needing to drive over here and use him.
And timing that.
Yeah, so they
for the bit when the bitch is ready.
We can get him collected over here, ship it over there, and
they do the rest.
It can just stay there waiting for their bitch. So yeah, that's a big part of it. And not even just in the rare breeds, even sort of a Labrador or anything like that, they've got more options. Basically, they can use dogs that are further afield. Yeah.
And what kind of, let's say, legal considerations, or what considerations do people need to take when they're buying semen? What would you say if they were buying semen from somewhere else, either within the UK or worldwide? What should they be looking for?
Being clear on what the arrangement is with the stud dog owner, I would say. So, for example, if I'll use exporting as an example. So if someone wanted to use a dog over here, and they're in America, for example, it's sort of arranging between them what they're actually going to get. So if we were to collect a dog, are we sending the entire collection, or are we sending just one breeding dose if they produce multiple breeding doses? So it's
because who owns the semen? Because I bring my dog into Elite Kennel Fertility. I have my dog frozen. He produces 4 doses. How do and I'm selling it to somebody. I'm coming in for it to be sold to somebody else, and I've said they can have 2 doses. Yeah. So it's not the full collection. He produced 4. They can have 2. What then happens?
So it would be in your name. So when you come in, you sign the booking form, you give the consent for us to collect your dog. So the semen goes into your name originally. If you then choose to sell some of it, we do the paperwork. So we'll send a transfer of ownership form to you. You'd fill out the details of the dog, details of the person you're selling it to, and you confirm the date of the collection and how many breeding doses you want transferred. Then you send it back to us, and then we can process it this end. And
that all happens before
it goes.
It leaves, to go somewhere else in the UK or somewhere to export.
So they could either have it in their name and keep it here longer until they're ready to either use it. So it doesn't have
to leave?
No, it doesn't have to leave. So if, for example, someone was living in, I don't know, Cornwall and they'd bought semen off you, we could transfer it into their name once we've got the paperwork off you, and it can stay stored here until put in their name until they come and use it.
Okay, and they can come and use it here
if they wanted to, yeah, or if they had a clinic somewhere else they wanted to transfer it to. And if they lived in Scotland, for example, we could ship the semen to Scotland to someone over there, and they could get it inseminated up there.
And lastly, insurance, because this is sometimes something that we talk at great length with clients about. The insurance here obviously doesn't. We don't cover semen as such. Just explain to me why and how semen can be insured.
It can be done. There are companies, I think there's two. We can put people in touch with them and
introduce them.
Yeah, and then they sort it out with the company themselves. Generally, it's not something that's done, and I think the main reason is the value. My dog semen is worth a lot to me because it's my dog, but you wouldn't.
I don't have Lakeland Terriers.
No, it wouldn't be of any value to you. So, like, how do you put money on that?
So the value is where the sticking point is. Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Now, last question for you. Again, is there anything that you think that's kind of like the message to people that are starting out? They think, you know what, I might dip my toe into freezing some dog semen, whether it be somebody else's or their own. What would be your message? What should be your like first port of call when delving into frozen semen?
My take-home message, which I've probably said before, is don't leave it too late. If you're thinking about it and you've got a young dog, do it now. Don't wait until they're 10. There have been dogs that will freeze well when they're 10, but the likelihood is lower. And yeah, just pre-plan and get them in and get it frozen now, because once it's frozen, it can just stay frozen for as long as you need it to be. So yeah, that's probably my main thing, which tends to be a running theme in repro, is just pre-plan, and yeah, don't try and do it when you think when it's too late.
Don't leave it too late.
Yeah,
basically. Don't regret it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Cool. I think we're done.
Was that okay?